humans aren't great predictors of the future. For most of history, our experience has been local and linear. Not much change occurred generation to generation. We mostly used the same tools, we ate the same meals, we met our life companions in much the same way, and mostly we ended up in the same type of occupations as the generation before us. The change from one generation to the other were limited. My name is Anette Mellbye. My background is mainly from disruption and transformation in Schibsted. And as of 1st of June, as Alan told you, I will join the BCG team in Oslo, the digital team. Against our intuition, today the future is unfolding, not linearly, but exponentially, making it challenging to predict just what will happen next and when. To me, understanding exponential change has been key to recognize the magnitude of today's digital disruption and the efforts needed to cope. So, what is exponential growth? Unlike linear growth, which results from repeatedly adding a constant, exponential growth is the repeated multiplication of a constant. Sounds complicated, but let's take a closer look. The exponential growth curve reflects that improvements come slowly in the beginning, and then, all of a sudden, they increase rapidly, and we experience disruption and amazement. Often we miss exponential trends in the early stages, since the initial phase of exponential growth is deceptive. Since it begins slow and steady, it is hard to differentiate from linear growth. There are strong indicators that we have reached the point of inflection in the exponential growth curve. Just consider all the crazy sci-fi inventions that are already a reality. Self-driving cars, 3D printed hearts, houses, cars and planes, Amazon Go, delivery drones, Hyperloop, robots, cryptocurrency, and Elon Musk's latest endeavor, connecting machines to the human brain to make it learn exponentially, to enable humans to compete against machines. So why do the exponential growth curve accelerate so all of the sudden? The inflection point is caused by access to new exponential technologies such as mobile, sensors, software that enables AI and machine learning, and robots and 3D printers. These four factors are in themselves deeply transformative. Just consider how the smartphone alone has altered our habits since the launch of iPhone 10 years ago. But when these transformative technologies appear together, they cause wave after wave of new exponential technologies, such as nanotechnology, the blockchain, Internet of Things, VR, AR, and cloud. And these new technologies give, of course, rise to a host of new ways to solve problems. They give rise to a host of new business models, such as a service, platforms, on-demand, access over ownership, which we see unfold in transportation services these days, etc., etc. Business models that introduce new, more future-proof and friction-free ways to solve customer problems than current analog pipeline business models. Understanding exponential mechanisms on a theoretical level is one thing. Understanding how they manifest themselves in real life is a whole other thing. Take Amazon. Amazon is so much more than just a retailer. Amazon is a titan of e-commerce, logistics, payment, software, cloud computing, and media and entertainment. It is also involved in education, health, and insurance. It is the go-to site for all online shoppers, and the very amount of data enables it to optimize and update prices on their website and in-store every 10 minutes. Amazon allows shoppers to place orders via voice technology. Amazon delivers packages by drones and have patented underwater warehouses. They also patented airship warehouses. And I must admit, I agree with the new site Gizmodo. The Amazon mothership is terrifying as hell, even if this video is a complete fake. Amazon Key delivers packages not only to people's doorsteps, but also inside their homes. And Amazon has patented a technique called anticipatory shipping. The idea is to use data to predict what customers want before they know it themselves, and then ship the products to them automatically. Amazon is taking convenience to the next level. Amazon is building the physical cloud. In 2016, Jeff Bezos pronounced the ambitions for the Amazon loyalty program. Our goal with Amazon Prime, make no mistake, is to make sure that if you're not a Prime member, you are being irresponsible. Today, Prime members enjoy 2-day free shipping guarantee, access to Amazon Music streaming, access to a video streaming service similar to Netflix, and access to free ebooks and Audible. And Amazon Prime sticks. It has now topped 100 million members in the US. More than 80% of all American households. Jeff Bezos has achieved his ambition. Not being a member is already seen as irresponsible. So while most retailers are concerned with marketing, sales funnels, and how technology can improve their websites, while most retailers are incrementally improving, Amazon is fundamentally reimagining every aspect of retail and logistics as we know it, turning itself into the world's strongest ecosystem player. So you get the picture. Growth is no longer predictable and linear. For companies to stay relevant in this new fast-changing world, it is vital that they invest in digital and that they transform. But what does digital mean? And what is the difference between digitalization and digital transformation? Let me start by saying, the problem today isn't that established companies do not invest in digitalization. The problem is that they disregard that the very business model they're digitizing is rapidly approaching the due date. Uber, Airbnb, and Amazon didn't use technology to make incremental improvements. They revolutionized the business model of their sector. And even established companies operating in mature markets must strive to see beyond their business model, because incremental improvements will not guarantee success going forward. The point is that technology is rapidly shifting from being a legacy enabler to becoming a fundamental game changer. We see this in how Amazon is rethinking retail, logistics, health, and insurance. We see this in how companies are restructuring from being industry players to becoming ecosystem players. We also see it in other areas, in how 3D printing is restructuring and profoundly affecting the supply chain, and how autonomy and shared mobility deeply affects transportation and more than 40 other industries, media included. The expression "no longer business as usual" now applies to all industries. And as a cord cutter for many years now, it is vital that the TV industry supercharge the digital transformation. It is urgent that the TV industry gain speed. As most legacy business models, linear TV, no exception, no approach to due date, businesses must ask themselves the fundamental question: what customer problem are we trying to solve? Without being hung up in one particular technology or business model. Because, as we've just seen, technologies and business models will change at a higher pace than ever. The shift from technology as a legacy enabler to technology as a game changer also implies that it is vital for businesses to change focus. Digitalisation, that is improving current business with new technologies, no longer holds. Companies now need to find new business models altogether. They need to start a digital transformation journey or risk becoming irrelevant. And by the way, knowing, understanding, and being able to articulate the difference between digitalization and digital transformation makes transformation a whole lot easier for both you and your organization. Organizations born out of stability, accustomed to tweaking and optimizing a long-lasting business model, will have to learn to reinvent. This is an S-curve, illustrating the journey for all products, services, and business models. They all follow the exact same path, from launch to stagnation. Companies aiming to get ahead in the long term will need to learn to jump S-curves and transform again and again and again. Since the launch of Netflix in 1997, Netflix has jumped the S-curve several times. I once heard the CEO of Netflix say, "I think we had an advantage. We realized already from launch that our business model, DVD subscription service, was a short-lived one." Netflix was prepared to jump S-curves from the very beginning. From the very outset, their company culture was adaptive and responsive to changes. It becomes increasingly clear that what took you here will not take you there. Indeed, and contrary to what many tend to believe, digital transformation is not about bringing two separate worlds together, but about transitioning to a new world, creating a new DNA for organizations, new business models, new services, new ways of working, new ecosystems, and an entirely new mindset. Technology and business models are super important, but most transformations fail, not due to the technology, but due to lack of a digital culture. Established companies accustomed to stability and predictability need to learn and adapt. They need to become responsive to changes, comfortable with speed, and get used to competitors coming from any angle. Because the fact is, focusing on one new technology, finding one new business models, or initiating one exotic startup collaboration simply won't do it. Companies will have to get into a state of permanently exploring and searching for new business models, because change is a new norm, and transformation is a journey, not a destination, a never-ending journey. So digitizing is no longer sufficient. Companies now need to transform. But how? These are some of the most important learnings from my transformation journey. First, it is vital to organize for speed. The rapid pace of technology change, access to ever new technologies and business models, forces companies to become more responsive and speed up to stay relevant. However, organizational structures born out of the stable and slow-moving business environment decades ago, traditional hierarchies, control and command leadership, and workforce fixed in silos are ill-suited for dealing with rapid changes. Businesses that want to thrive need to nurture responsive networks and facilitative leadership. They need to adapt a learning mindset and an innovative, nimble culture with cross-functional teams responsive to sudden changes. Companies of the future need to leverage the on-demand and company-wide talent pool and build a more collaborative culture. In Aftenposten, where I used to work, we hacked the organization on many different levels in order to morph into a more responsive, agile, and collaborative culture. To nurture a more change-oriented culture, we were in a constant state of reorganizations. Reorganization were no longer something we just initiated once every 2 years. We emphasized goals that were common to the entire organization. We moved to new office spaces designed to make people from different departments bump into each other. To help collapse silos. We also had a CEO constantly repeating, the best ideas most often come from the wrong department at the wrong time. We rewarded the right transformational behavior. We adjusted incentives and KPIs to support the transformation. We pushed authority downwards in the organization and tried to cultivate a just-do-it culture to speed up. And we trained ourselves in questioning established truths and status quo. Second, companies should nurture a customer-obsessed culture. Companies are facing a new business reality. With global competition and lower entry barriers, empowered customers demand a new level of customer obsession. Customers expect convenience, consistent digital experiences on demand. They want immediate value, no friction, and they will go elsewhere if you can't provide it. We have entered the age of the customer. Focusing on the customer is more important than any other strategic and operative imperative. The challenge of competing digitally and globally is that the benchmark is ever rising. Each time a customer is exposed to improved and friction-free digital experiences from companies such as Netflix, Airbnb, or Vipps, their engagement expectations are reset to a new and higher level. The bar is raised. It is no accident that Amazon's mission is to be the Earth's most customer-centric company. They understood the changing nature of customer relationships before anyone else and built their culture around it. They put customer at center of all decisions, not technology, not organizational design. They moved power to the frontline employees. They allowed the people who are most in tune with customer needs and desires to be individually responsible and empowered to create value for customers themselves. Amazon have a customer obsession as the first of 14 leadership principles, and they have an empty chair in every board meeting representing the customer. It becomes increasingly clear to all of us that being customer-oriented in today's world no longer holds. The companies of tomorrow have realized that being customer-obsessed is the true competitive force. They put the customer at center of all decisions, not technology, not organizational design. Third, companies should develop ecosystem strategies. We have shifted to an interconnected digital marketplace where digital technologies and connectivity enable collaboration platforms. And collaboration platforms enable ecosystems that bring organizations together to build new capacity or a new product or a new service offering. The connectedness in the digital marketplace causes customer experience to transcend both corporate and industry borders. Technology and businesses are now so intertwined that industry boundaries are blurring. And as boundaries between industry sectors continue to blur, CEOs will face off against companies and industries that never previously viewed as competitors. With blurring industry borders, it also becomes difficult to see where one business stops and the other begins. Increasingly, businesses and competitors depend on each other to deliver products and services to the end user. And the sector borders dissolve. And when the sector borders dissolve, the vast majority of innovation and business development opportunities lies in the interface between functions, offices, and organizations. New business ecosystems emerge. The connectedness also facilitates the creation of new value, and redefines the art of possible. Just look to Amazon, Google, Uber, and Airbnb. More and more often, we see unexpected newcomers create market power shifts. Today, nobody wins with silos in place. Lack of shared knowledge and data, lack of collaboration, and limits to the delivery of seamlessness puts companies out of business at a higher pace than ever. Therefore, companies are restructuring from being industry players to becoming ecosystem players. Therefore, companies that want to stay relevant are forced to work with a much wider range of players than ever before. We see this in how French broadcasters join forces for OOT platform. We see this in Vipps, the joint venture between major Norwegian banks. And we see this in how media companies are collaborating in the ad tech space. In the digital connected marketplace, companies need to develop ecosystem strategies parallel to those we see in nature. When an ecosystem works as intended, whether in the ocean or in the thickets of the digital economy, the word gets around, the best flock to join in, and the benefits accrue to existing participants. As the saying goes, there is strength in numbers. The digital world demands a new way of thinking. Companies should regard themselves not as a single firm within an industry, but rather as part of a business ecosystem that spans traditional industry boundaries. Fourth, when transforming a legacy company used to delivering on the same stable business model again and again and again to an agile and nimble organization in constant search of new business models, it makes sense to organize in two modes. One focusing on operational excellence in today's business model, continuous reconfiguration and healthy disengagement. The idea is to ensure viability of the old business model for as long as possible in order to finance exploration and launch of new business models in Mode 2. Mode 2 should focus on innovation and ecosystems, building and inventing, considering partnership, acquisitions, and/or investments. Many transformations fail because companies fail to balance these two modes. Finally, digital transformation is inherently hard and must be led by the CEO. Transforming a company is anything but common sense. It requires organizations to act against their natural assumptions and instincts. What sounds really, really stupid actually turns out to be really super smart, such as nurturing a culture for failure and delegating control to those further down in the organization. And what might sound really smart actually is really, really stupid, such as delegating the responsibility for digital transformation to the IT department. Digital transformation requires changes in culture, in incentive programs, in focus, and it requires grit. Therefore, the transformation will only succeed if led by the top manager. The CEO needs to make digital transformation top priority and lead and own the mind shift of the organization. To sum up, technology has shifted from being a legacy enabler to becoming a fundamental game changer. Digitalization is no longer sufficient. Now businesses have to transform both business models and culture. The digital transformation fail rate is high, and the most important reason for failure is lack of an adaptive and agile culture. In order to adapt to new digital market conditions, companies should organize for speed, foster a customer-obsessed culture, look to their ecosystem, organize in two modes, and the CEO should lead the way and make digital transformation top priority. Technology, cloud, infrastructure, APIs, and data are obviously essential to compete in today's digital marketplace, but they will only take you so far. The challenge will come down to culture. It's about transforming the very company culture into becoming customer-obsessed, responsive to changes, and continuously in learning mode. It all boils down to managing, developing, aligning, and motivating people to make an active part in the transformation. And most of all, it comes down to speed. To quote Facebook's internal book, "The quick shall inherit the earth. Fast is better than slow. While slow is adding unnecessary embellishment, fast is out in the world." And that means fast can learn from experience, while slow can only theorize. Those who ship quickly can improve quickly. So fast doesn't just win the race, it gets a head start at the next one. In today's marketplace, speed is the most important competitive advantage, and customer obsession is speed of execution. Thank you.